In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use Blender to model the Douglas A4 Skyhawk jet fighter. Now, before you start modeling this jet fighter, there are a few things that you need to set up in Blender. So I'm going to go to File, User Preferences, and under the add-ons, I'm going to enable Loop Tools. Okay, so search under the Mesh Loop Tools under this search box and activate it by clicking on this check box here, and then you can go ahead and save user settings. Alright, so next we want to bring in the image or blueprint of the A4 Skyhawk. So to do that, you first create an empty. So press Shift A and choose an empty and choose the option image. Okay, so right now the empty is hidden behind this default cube here, so I'm going to right mouse click to select this cube and press X to delete it. So right now currently the empty image option does not carry any image, so I'm going to go to the properties panel here and click on the empty properties, and then I'm going to click on the open button here, and then I'm going to navigate to my reference images and open up the Douglas A4 Skyhawk blueprint. So click on the open button, and then you have to rescale this so that it is about the size of the grid here. So go ahead and press S and then scale it up. You will notice that the pivot or the center of this empty is located at the corner. So in order to move it more to the center, you can adjust the value offset here. You can click and drag to adjust the offset. So I'm clicking and dragging the offset X and the offset Y, right, just to get it to center on one of the drawings. So I'm going to press on 7 to go to the top view, pressing number 5 to go to orthographic view. And then you notice that I can't really see the red line to cut across the reference image. So I'm going to reduce the transparency so that I can see through the reference drawings. Now I'm just going to click and drag and adjust until I can see that the red line cuts straight through the center. Now for me, I prefer to model with the airplane pointing downwards. Okay, this is a personal preference, but for me, I prefer to model it with the airplane's nose pointing downwards towards the y-axis here, based from the top view. So now I'm going to rotate 90 degrees, so press R followed by 90 and press enter. Okay, so right now it's lined up to the y-axis, so I'm going to push this drawing until it's right about the center. So this will be my top view reference. If I middle mouse click and drag, okay, I'm going to come back to my perspective view, but this time in orthographic. So if you can press number 5, you can switch to perspective view again. So for this reference, I'm going to push it down, okay, and this will be used as my top reference. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to duplicate this plane by pressing Shift D, okay, and when you press Shift D and move your mouse, the duplicate is going to follow where it goes. So I'm going to press Z so that it's going to lock in the Z axis. So I'm going to bring it up until it's lined up to the grid, okay, or thereabouts, okay, and then I'm going to left mouse click, okay, to put it there. Then I'm going to press R followed by X, okay, so that I can rotate this new plane 90 degrees upwards like this. So I press R followed by 90. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to position this reference until the front view is lined up with this grid here. In order to do that, I'm going to press 1 to switch to my front view. Then I'm going to press 5 to switch to orthographic view. I'm going to use these bomb racks as my ground level. So I'm going to move the reference drawing until the bomb racks, okay, touches the red line. Okay, so for the top and the front view, I know that they are pretty much aligned. I'm going to middle mouse click and drag, so I'm going to switch over to the perspective orthographic view again, and then I'm going to push the front view reference back. Okay, now I'm going to refer to the top view reference again by right mouse clicking on it. I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate again, and you'll notice that you'll follow the mouse. I'm going to press Z so that it's going to lock in the Z axis. I'm going to push it up slightly. Then I'm going to press R followed by Y 90 degrees. So in this case, when I rotated 90 degrees, the side view reference is upside down. So I'm going to undo, and then I'm going to press R followed by negative, which is minus 90. Alright, I've got to press the axis, so I'm going to do that again. R followed by Y minus 90. So what I did was R followed by the Y axis, and then I press 90. Then I'm going to move the side reference. So in this case, I'm going to go to the left view, which is number 3 on the number pad, and then I'm going to move it down until the bomb rack touches the ground plane, which is represented by the green line here. So my reference is now pretty much lined up. Okay, in order to verify that my reference is lined up, I'm going to move my side view and my front view, and then I'm going to ensure that they are lined up together. Okay, you can move the drawings, move the reference drawings, right, until they cut into one another, just to confirm that the drawings are lined up. Okay, so my side view needs to go down a little bit more. Okay, and then my front view is pretty much lined up, okay, with the drawings. Now it might be slightly off, okay, but you should have enough information to model your jet plane. So right now I'm going to push the references to the side, and now my reference is set up. Okay, whenever you create your front, side and top views, remember this: when you're doing your top view, you can only move them up and down, okay, and your front view forwards and backwards, and then the side view left and right, okay, once they are properly aligned. Okay, in order to prevent these references from accidentally moved, okay, you can press N to bring up the transform properties, all right, and lock them. So I'm going to select the front view reference, and I'm going to lock it, and I'm going to lock the rotation as well. I'm going to do the same for the top views and the side views. And while I'm at it, I'm going to lock the scale as well. Okay, so now, even though I can select the reference drawings, I can't move them anymore. Okay, I can't rotate them as well. So at this stage, I can start to model. So I'm going to press Shift C to reset the position of my cursor, and then I'm going to start off by creating a cylinder, okay, to create the fighter jet's body. So I'm going to press Shift A, choose Mesh, and click on Cylinder. Okay, the default cylinder has 32 sides, which is quite a lot. So we don't really need so many sides. So I'm going to reduce it down to about probably an even number. I'm going to use 10 sides. Okay. Right. So the 10 sides should be sufficient for us to rough out the shape of the A4 jet fighter. So next, once I created the cylinder, I'm going to go to the side view. Okay, make sure you're in the orthographic view here. Okay, by pressing 5. Okay, you can see the difference. When you press 5, you toggle 5, you can see the difference between perspective view and the orthographic view. Right, with the cylinder with 10 sides created, now I'm going to just rotate it 90 degrees Okay, when you're in the orthographic view, it's quite easy to understand that if you rotate now in this orthographic view, you are rotating in the x-axis. So you don't really have to press X to rotate, right? So you can straight away in orthographic view press R, okay, and then you can, when you press R, take a look at the lower left corner. You can see the amount, the values, the angle which the cylinder is being rotated. So you can go ahead and press minus 90 so that it rotates 90 degrees to the direction that you want. Okay, next I'm going to edit mode, which is going into the component mode of the mesh, and then I'm going to scale it down so that is roughly the thickness of the size of the fuselage. I'm going to press tab again to go to object mode, and then I'm going to move the cylinder until it lines up with the body of the jet fighter. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I want to extend or scale the length of the fuselage, the cylinder, to match the length here. So I'm going to right mouse click and select the cylinder, go to tab to go into edit mode, press A to deselect all the components, and then press B to drag a box selection over the ends of the vertices, and I'm going to pull one section here until it lines up with the dorsal fin here. Okay, now while this is still selected, I can press E to extrude another section out until it is right at the tailpipe section here. So the tailpipe section ends here. And because this is still a cylinder, if I middle mouse click and drag, you can still see it's still a cylinder. I can still press S and scale it down so that I can create the jet nozzle. I'm going to press 3 to go back. So as I scale this down, I know that this is uniformly scaled, okay, because of the default median scale settings. Then I can push this up until it matches the profile of the jet's body. Okay, I can scale it down a little bit more and then push it up until it lines up with the rest of the jet's body. Now for the front part of the jet plane, okay, I'm going to press A to deselect the last portion. I'm going to press B to box select again to select the end section here, and then I'm going to press E again to extrude one more section just around here. Now why do I do that? Because this is where the wing root starts. Later on I'm going to pull out the wing from this section, and then this is where the jet intake tapers down, so I'm going to create one more section here. Okay, at this stage it would be a good idea to split into two views. Okay, I'm going to split into two window views, so I'm going to bring my cursor down to the corner here, left mouse click and pull two windows. I'm going to press N here and move my cursor over here, press N to hide the transform properties, and then, or the viewport properties. Then I'm going to press T to hide the tools. I'm going to press T to hide the tools here. And one of the views, I'm going to switch it to the top view, which I'm going to press on number 7. Now once I'm in the top view, you can see very clearly, now there's a taper going on in the top part of the fuselage. Right, so at this stage, I'm going to continue extruding. Okay, I'm going to extrude until it reaches the tip of the nose. So I'm going to press E, and then I can use, when I press E and right mouse click, this extrusion will jump back. So I can use the manipulator to pull this until it reaches the tip of the nose. So you can see from the side view, okay, we already reached the tip of the nose. So what you can do is just press S to scale it down, and then bring it down until it roughly matches the size of the nose. Now using the insert edge loop function by pressing Ctrl R, we can insert one edge loop, okay, just in front of the aircraft cockpit area, and then just simply scale it up and then move it up until it fits the rough shape of the nose. And then right at the nose cone area, I'm going to press Ctrl R again to insert one more edge loop. Okay, and then I'm going to scale it up as well, and then bring it down so that it matches the rough profile of the aircraft nose. Now for the nose, to create a stub nosed portion, okay, I'm going to insert one more edge loop, Ctrl R, and then just bring it as close as I can, because I'm going to collapse these group of vertices into a single point. Okay, so I'm going to drag and pull down another window, and then this window here I'm going to change it into a perspective window. Now we have one face here, so I'm going to press Ctrl Tab and switch to face selection mode. Right mouse click to select this face, and then you should be able to merge all these vertices that are connected to this face together. So I'm going to try to merge by pressing Alt M, and then merge the face or collapse the face at the center. Okay, so right now this has been collapsed into a single point. If I go to vertex and if I select the vertex, it is now transformed into a single point. Okay, and then for this group of vertices here, I can hold down to Alt and right mouse click, and making sure no other vertices are selected. Okay, in order to make sure no other vertices are selected, you can press A a couple of times until none is selected. Okay, to select this ring of vertices, move your cursor over the edge, Alt right mouse click, and then rotate it slightly to match the flow of the blueprint. Okay, should you need another edge loop to run across here, do note that right now the only way you can insert an edge loop is across four-sided faces. So I feel that I need another more edge loop that runs across here so that I can have a much rounded tip here. So I'm going to go ahead and press Ctrl R and insert one edge loop right close to the edge here, and then holding down the Alt right mouse click to select this ring. I'm going to press Ctrl Tab, okay, and then go to edge mode, pressing W to bring up my specials key. Okay, in this case the special keys doesn't contain the slide edge tool, so since the edge starts with the letter E, I'm going to press Ctrl E to bring out the edges specials menu, and then I'm going to use the edge slide tool and then slide the edge right over here. Then while the edge is still selected, you can press S to scale it up slightly, so now I have a much rounded nose tip, and then this point I can push it back in. So right now the nose cone is rounded to my liking. So the rough shape of the fuselage is now done. Okay, next we want to extract the cockpit. Okay, so to extract the cockpit, we need to insert a couple of edge loops so that we can pull out the central portion here. Okay, there is this fairing around here. So I'm going to press Ctrl R to insert one edge loop across here. Click on it and then drag it to this section here. Now if you look at the top of the reference, you should be able to see the faces where you can pull out the cockpit area. So I identified the faces as these faces, but if you look over here, right, so this is the area right where the nose cone, or rather the back of the cockpit, is starting from. So what I can try to do is to select these faces. Okay, so you have to be very careful if you're selecting from the top. Okay, I'm going to disable the clipping. Okay, let me see. Okay, another way would be to select from the side view and also the perspective view, so that only the top faces are now selected. So from these faces, I'm going to extrude the cockpit section. So holding down to E to extrude, or just press E once to extrude, and you can extrude a face to form the cockpit area. Alright, so I'm going to press S followed by Y to scale it inwards like that. Okay, and then I'm going to switch over to vertex mode, and then I'm going to move the vertices until it forms the rough shape. Okay, press A to deselect. I'm going to just grab these vertices to form the rough shape of the cockpit section. Okay, and for these two sections I want it to be narrower, so I can use scale S followed by X to scale it inwards. Okay, let me undo that. Okay, select these two vertices, then press S followed by X so that it will scale along the X axis. Now in order to achieve this curvature here, I'm going to Control R, insert one more edge loop, possibly around here, and then using the box select tool, and then pull this out so that I have a much rounder cross section. Okay, so if you change to object mode, and then if you change to solid, okay, you can roughly see now you have the cockpit section. Okay, but one thing about the design of the cockpit area is that it's still not teardrop shape, so I need to insert one edge loop around here, okay, to make it much rounder. So I'm going to press Control R. First I need to go back to edit mode first, then press Control R, then insert one edge loop right about here. Now here we have to move the vertices very carefully to form the outline of the cockpit. So I'm going to select the newly inserted edge loop vertices, then I'm going to press S followed by X to scale this inwards. Okay, so that it has a much rounded look. So same for these two vertices here at the nose area, and then I'm going to press S followed by X and then scale it inwards. Okay, same for these vertices. I'm going to press S followed by X, scale it inwards. So now you notice that the cockpit has a much more teardrop shape. Since we have only two vertices selected, we don't really have to press the X-axis, so we can just press S straight away. Just press S so that it's much more rounded. And then this section here, we can actually pull it back, and then this one just scale it inwards. So now you can see we have a teardrop cockpit section. And then for the nose section here, I'm just gonna push it forward, and especially these guys, gonna push it forward so it lines up with the nose window plane. Okay, so that is the shape of the cockpit that is roughed out. So next we want to create the wings. Alright, so how do we pull out the wings from such a low resolution section? So by now, before we go and pull on the wings, let's check the front reference. Okay, so you can see obviously we didn't get much accuracy in the front section here, especially if you go to edit mode and press Z to go to wireframe mode. You notice that the cockpit, or rather the cross section of the jet fighter, is more of a triangular oval shape, or more like a egg shape. It's wider at the bottom, and then it is narrower on top. So I want to replicate this. So one way would be to use a proportional editing tool. Now, so far we've been working on a single object. Sometimes it makes sense to just work with half an object and then apply a modifier to model the other half instead. So I'm going to go to face selection mode, press B, and very carefully drag a box and choose the faces on one side. Now you have to make sure that exactly half of the faces are selected. no more, no less. Okay, and then go ahead and delete away the faces. Okay, once the faces are deleted, you can apply a mirror modifier. So click on the Add Modifier button in your Properties panel and choose Generate Mirror. And you'll notice that now a mirror side is created. And by default, it always mirrored the x-axis. And also, I prefer to turn on my clipping mode and just leave it on. Okay, so now I just need to model half the model without worrying about modeling the other side. So I'm going to switch on the vertex editing mode, and I'm going to start off by adjusting the profile of the aircraft. Okay, so I'm going to select one vertex, and then I'm going to press O to turn on proportional editing. So as I press G to move, okay, you'll notice that by moving one vertex, it's going to affect the rest of the vertices as well. So by rolling your middle mouse, you can affect the range, okay, of the edit. So notice that I can actually push the vertex in and conform to the shape that I want. So press X and then just gently adjust by rolling out your middle mouse to adjust the range. You can control the shape, okay, of the, or rather model and sculpt the shape of the cross section. Okay, so I'm going to move this progressively back until it follows the cross section of the aircraft. So this one I should move back a little bit more. Maybe this one, pull it back out a little bit. This one perhaps follows the side. Okay, so now I've successfully tweaked the shape, okay, of the aircraft so that the cross section now follows closely to the drawing. So now I got an ovoid shape. Okay, if I middle mouse click and drag and then turn on solid shaded mode, okay, I now got a closer representation of the cross section of the jet plane. Okay, next I have to study the aircraft, the root of the wing, and then the end of the wing. So this is a delta wing. So the root of the wing starts around here. Now before I pull out the root of the wing, let me just quickly check the top view first. I just want to make sure that the top section looks about right. Now if you notice the jet intakes doesn't match, it's because I have not started to model the jet intakes yet. Okay, I'll do that later. Right now I just want to figure out a way to pull out the wings. Now the wing has a unique airfoil shape. Alright, so we will try our best to follow the shape so that we can pull out the wings. So we know that the end of the wings end here, so we need to insert one edge loop, Control R, and then insert one edge loop here. So this is where the wing ends, and we need minimum 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 faces, right, to pull out this wing. And right now we don't have enough faces around here to pull out another extra face. So I'm going to insert one edge loop that runs across here. So Control R, insert one edge loop that runs right about here. So it's going to run continuously while maintaining the shape. So now I have sufficient faces to pull out the wing. So I'm going to Control Tab, go to face selection mode. I'm going to select these faces. So these faces are going to be pulled out and they're going to form my wing. All right. Okay, so if you look at the bottom, from the bottom of this selection, you'll notice that the bottom side of the faces are also selected. So doesn't matter, we're going to extrude this. So press E to extrude. Okay, And now when you extrude, I forgot to mention, you need to turn off clipping from your mirror. So I'm going to temporarily turn it off. And then you're going to grab the x-axis arrow and then pull out the extruded faces. So because I didn't do that, right now I'm creating a gap there. So I'm going to undo that, Control Z to undo. Okay, now the faces are selected and the clipping of my modifier is turned off. So I'm going to press E to extrude, and then I'm going to press X so that I can pull out the root section of the wing. So I pulled out a small section here. Then I'm going to press S to scale, followed by X, and then scale it inwards. Okay, right now I notice a problem. I did not turn off my proportional editing, so whatever I do, it is always affecting the rest of the plane. So let me just undo that again, Control Z, and turn off my proportional editing by pressing O. Then I'm going to press E again. Then I'm going to grab the x-axis, right? Then I'm going to press S followed by X, and then I'm going to press 0 so that I can flatten the faces right underneath the aircraft. Okay, so I'm going to convert these faces into the cross section of the wing. So you have to first switch over to vertex, and I'm going to select these front vertex, and then I'm going to reshape them, S followed by Z, to scale them downwards. So select these two vertical ones, okay, and scale it down. And then this one, I'm going to pull it up a little bit. Same for this one. And this, I'm going to pull it down. So that's why sometimes it's good to have multiple windows with the correct views turned on. Now for those of you who are in the aerospace or you are into aircraft and aircraft technology in general, you'll notice that the wings must have a certain cross section so that it can generate lift. So we are doing the same thing here. Okay, if you want to create an accurate model, the wing must have the airfoil shape, all right, which is this shape which I'm trying to replicate. All right, so pull this down. So the root, I'm going to push this forward. And in order to round it off, I'm just going to shift the vertices around so that it has a rounded fairing. Okay, so now I have the roughed airfoil shape of my wing, and I'm ready to actually pull out the rest of the wing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these external faces again. Okay, not this one. So these are external faces again, and then I'm going to extrude and form the rest of the wing. So go ahead and just pull it out one more section. No, I'm just going to pull it out slightly and then press E to extrude and then pull out the rest of the wing. Now right now the wing is parallel. Okay, so I'm going to press S followed by Y to scale it down, and then push the wing backwards a little. Okay, and then because we want the wing tip to be slender, so we had to scale it vertically. So while the faces are still selected, press S followed by Z to scale it down into this slender airfoil shape. And you can actually see the shape of the wingtip here. And the wingtip is actually tipped upwards, so there is a dihedral or a bend on the wing itself. Okay, so far, okay, I'm going to pull this section just before the wingtip, and then I'm going to press E again to extrude another smaller wingtip. So press S followed by Y, then scale it down and then push this back slightly. Okay, so I notice right now from the top view reference that the front of my wing, right, should be extended a little bit longer. So sometimes this could be due to the accuracy of the drawings. So the drawings might not be completely accurate. So I'm going to select these vertices that represent the front. Okay, now you have to be very careful whenever you select vertices to adjust. Make sure that none of the vertices are not selected. So you need to press a couple of times to make sure that none of the vertices are selected. Then I'm going to grab and select these vertices that form the front of the root. Okay, and then simply move them forward until it matches the cross section of the wing from the top view. So I'm going to press A to deselect, and then I'm going to grab this section here and then move it forward and then push this backwards until it matches the lines of the wing. Okay. Now I'll include the link to download this reference image. Alright. So now I roughly have the wing done. So the next thing I want to do is the dorsal fin. Okay, the dorsal fin, you can actually build it as a separate piece, or in this case here, I'm going to extrude one section here to form the dorsal fin. So to do that is very simple. Now we have already inserted an edge loop that runs across here to form the root of the dorsal fin, but over this section here we do not have a section, or actually we can extrude this face to form the dorsal fin. So in fact, let's do that. Let's select this face and this face, and then I'm going to extrude once, okay, to form the dorsal fin. So I'm going to press E. Okay, now when you extrude, and if your clipping is not on, right, you're going to have all these internal faces. So I'm going to undo, Control Z. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to select these faces and I'm going to turn on clipping, and then I'm going to press E, and notice this time, although I can move the faces up, the center stays together. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extrude all the way until it matches the height of the dorsal fin. Then I'm going to press S followed by X to scale it down in the X-axis as much as I can. Then I'm going to press S followed by Z followed by 0 to flatten the top. Okay, so obviously this still doesn't look like the dorsal fin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to vertex mode, and then I'm just going to manually shift the vertices until they are really thin and slender. Okay, then I'm going to grab these vertices on top, press B and select all these vertices on top, press S followed by Y to scale it inwards like that. Then I'm going to pull this back, right, pull this back. In fact, I'm going to pull it back until it reaches the tip of the dorsal fin. So next, I'm going to create this this recessed section here. So obviously you can see we are not the shape of the dorsal fin is not following the shape of the reference. So I'm going to scale this in the y-axis even smaller until it matches the length. Okay, I made a mistake there. I'm gonna press S followed by Y again. I think I've extruded a section which I'm not supposed to do. S followed by Y, and then bring it down to match about the same length as the tip of the dorsal fin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert one edge loop that runs across here so that I can replicate the cross section here. So press Ctrl R, okay, and then insert one edge loop right about here. Okay, and then you can press S followed by Z to 0 first to flatten it, then press S followed by Y to scale it inwards. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to put this section just between these two, then S followed by Y again to scale it up. Okay, so now the dorsal fin is much more closer to the shape of the dorsal fin. So I'm going to before I do anything, I just have to adjust the thickness. Right now this is way too thick for the dorsal fin, so I'm going to grab the vertices. I'm going to reshape it so that it is much more thinner. Okay, again, the dorsal fin also has a airfoil shape. Okay, I'm going to insert one more edge loop right near the base here to tighten it up. So Control R, insert one edge loop right at the corner here. And then this one I can pull it back and then push it inwards from the top. So obviously there's still a very gentle curve here, which can make do with another edge loop. Okay, I can insert one more edge loop here. So Control R, insert one edge loop. And just pull this back in. So right now it follows the cross section much more closely. Okay, so for this curve section here, you can go ahead and insert one edge loop here. Press A to deselect and then move these vertices much more forward. Okay, and the back section here, I'm going to extend this out a little bit. So it lines up with this section. Now this jet exhaust here has a fairing here, so but I'm not going to model that fairing, so I'm just going to block out, just create a blocked out version of the Skyhawk. So as you can see, the Skyhawk is actually turning out, looking out pretty good. Okay, the cockpit section, everything looks pretty alright. Okay, perhaps the dorsal fin might be a little bit too thick, so let's go and fix that by selecting the dorsal fin and then try to make it slimmer. So you can turn on to wireframe mode and try to shift the vertices until it matches the thickness. Okay, so we got that done. So right now we're going to try to model the jet intake. So for the jet intake, we need to select a specific number of faces close to the back of the cockpit here, and then extrude out or split out a section to form the jet intakes. So the jet intakes start around here, so I'm going to insert one edge loop. Okay, that well, probably just insert one that is around the center here for time being, and then I'm going to grab these edges here, and then I'm going to use the slide edge tool by pressing Ctrl E and edge slide, then move it until it matches location here. I'm going to grab these vertices and reposition them until it matches the cross section of the jet intake. Right, so okay, right now I'm just moving the vertices so that it has a much nicer flow. So right now I have the faces to actually pull out the jet intake. So I have to figure out where the jet intakes begin and where it ends. Now the jet intakes, the thickness, it protrudes out from this face and it ends around here. So I have to select the faces that I want to pull out the jet intake, which are these faces, and I know it ends here. Now these top faces I probably don't need to select them, not this one as well. Okay, so okay, I'm quite happy with these faces that I want to select. So actually there are two ways that you can go about doing this. First, I'm going to check the front view, and I want to see how much that I want to pull out to form the faces. So actually it's quite a bit here. It extends to the top here as well, so I'm going to select these faces and extend it out as well. So I'm going to press E to extrude. Okay, but instead of extruding outwards like that, I'm just going to pull it out this way. Okay, so now here comes the tricky part. You will have to connect these, or rather position these. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge these two together. I don't need this face here. So these faces I don't need. I'm going to select these faces and pressing X, I'm going to delete these faces. Just going to stitch this together, holding these two vertices, Alt M, at the last vertices. So I'm going to snap to those vertices, Alt M, the last vertex, and then this one, slide this vertex to this vertex, Alt M, and snap to the last vertex. Okay, and okay, I'm going to end up with a three-sided face there, but I'm going to leave it there for now. Okay, and then I'm just going to resculpt, okay, the cross section of the jet intake. In fact, I probably don't need these faces below as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these faces. I'm going to press X to delete the faces, and then I'm going to stitch them back again. So select this outer one, inner one, Alt M, the last vertex to snap in, Alt M, the last vertex, and then select this one. And okay, for this one I can select these faces and then press X to delete away the faces because I want to fix this. Alt M and join the last. So I've created my jet intake. It's a bit messy here because I forgot to do a remove my clipping, so I ended up with a triangular face here instead. So let's see whether we can fix this. Let's see. If I insert an edge loop here, well, actually this is still a four-sided face. Let me see if I can push this out. Okay, no, it's not working. Okay, this is interesting. Normally a triangular face, right, will stop a edge from flowing. Okay, right now I'm just resculpting the jet intake. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to get rid of this face here. And then I'm going to use a knife tool. Just cut across here. And get rid of this face here. So right now I can form a four-sided face by press F to fill it in. So everything is four-sided again. Okay, so it's not a perfect solution, but it works. So right now I have my jet intake, so you will need some time to move and sculpt the vertices to get it to look proper. And right now there's a lot of empty space here. I'm going to try to insert one edge loop that runs across here. Okay, unfortunately it's cutting across my canopy, which is not something I like. Perhaps if I select this edge and delete away only the edge, dissolve the edge. Okay, so now I got a multi-sided face here. So I'm going to try to insert one edge loop here and then use the knife tool again and join these two. Okay, what I'm doing here is just reflowing the topology, and I'm gonna Control R insert one edge loop here. Okay, so obviously there's a gap here. I'm gonna join. Okay, is there a face there? Let me just check. Seems that there is a face over there. Okay, I'm going to try this. Select this vertex and this vertex, Alt M, and merge at the last vertex. Okay, that fixed the problem. So now I have enough topology to pull and shape, okay, the jet intake. Okay, so you can select the open edges, okay, by Alt right mouse click to select the open edges, and then you can press E to extrude, and right mouse click so it snaps back. Press S so that you can extrude an edge that goes inwards. Press E again, and when you press E and right mouse click, it jumps back in again, so you can pull back a section. I'm going to scale it along the y-axis and 0. Then I'm going to push it inwards and downwards so that it has a jet intake. Alright, so we got our jet intake. I mean, it is not perfect. I'll prefer the flow to be much more smoother. Okay, but this is the roughing out stage, so this should be fine. Okay, so next we want to create the stabilizer. The stabilizer is much more straightforward. You can actually create this as a separate piece and then just stick it there. So right now I'm in the this is object mode, and if I press tab it goes to edit mode. So I'm going to create a box, and I'm going to modify the box into a stabilizer. So press A to deselect. So I'm going to left mouse click my cursor so it is around the area of the stabilizer, then press Shift A and create a cube. Note that I'm creating a cube while I'm still in edit mode. So if I create this cube, right, another mirror cube will be created, right, and then because clipping is on, when I'm trying to move this cube, the center will join as well. Okay, so if I go to wireframe mode, you have to make sure you delete away the center face. So I'm going to select the center face and dissolve away the center face. Now to select this cube, all you have to do is move the cursor near one of the faces and press L so that anything that's linked to this cube will be selected. Press S followed by Z, scale it down. Alright, and then I'm going to switch over to select this face, and then I'm going to move it down. Going to the top view, you can switch over to the top view here. Actually no, maybe in this window. Yep. Okay, I noticed that my jet intakes need to be reshaped here. We'll come back to here later on. Let me just continue to finish the tail stabilizer. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to vertex mode. Press A to deselect, B, select the tail stabilizer, move it down until it matches the tail end of the stabilizer. Then I'm going to select the front end, move it back down here. Then press A to deselect, press B, select this group of vertices and bring it down until it matches the shape of the stabilizer. Okay, you can press rotate as well to get it to match. So right now it's just a thick slab. You can press A couple of times. Actually, you don't want to press A a couple of times because you select everything. I'm going to move the cursor near the stabilizer and press L. Then press S followed by Z to scale it down. Then press A to deselect. Press B again to select the tip, and press S to follow by Z to scale it down until it matches the cross section of the stabilizer. Now, if you look at the stabilizer, it's just a thick slab. It doesn't have the cross section of an aircraft wing. So you have to replicate that. So press Ctrl R to insert one edge loop here. Then press Ctrl R again to insert one edge loop horizontally like this. Okay, so right mouse click to get out of the insert edge loop mode. Then press Ctrl Tab, go to Edge Selection and select these two edges. Press S followed by Z to scale them down. Then you can drag and pull the green axis arrow back a little bit so that it is rounded. Okay, so we're going to do the same for the back here. So I'm going to select the tip edges. Okay, first I'm going to select only one of the tips, so because I want to flatten them. Currently these are tapered, so when you scale them down evenly, right, this is going to cross into one another. So I'm going to select this edge, S followed by Z, then 0, S followed by Z, then 0. So now these two edges are parallel. In fact, let me just do the same for this one as well. S followed by Z, 0. So now all these are parallel. Then I'm going to press S, select these two trailing edges, S followed by Z, and then scale it down. So now I have a rounded stabilizer that looks like a real aircraft stabilizer, which has the proper cross section. And basically the blocking stage of your aircraft is done. So if you want to apply the modifier and have the two stick together, you're pretty much done with that. But let me just fix the jet intakes here. So I'm going to go to vertex mode, then press B and then select these vertices that form the jet intake. Then I'm going to press S followed by Y and then 0 to flatten it. I'm going to pull this section here, then press A to deselect, and then press grab these sections. These sections are supposed to come out a little bit more. Okay, and maybe not this one. Okay, so right now I'm just nitpicking here. Okay, but because at this stage this is still a very rough looking model, but it is sufficient for in fact this detail level is good enough for a very low resolution game. And maybe here I need to just tweak it a little bit. Okay, just make it a little bit more streamlined. Okay, never have a chance to really use the loop tools, but I'm going to try to use it now. Okay, right now here, because of the extra edge loop, it is not really distributed round enough. So for now, I'm just going to apply the mirror. I'm going to go to object mode. Okay, go to object mode, apply the mirror so that both halves are now stuck together. Right, and then I'm going to select the go to edit mode. I'm going to select this central face here and delete it, this face as well. So right now these are open, there's an open hole here. If I go to vertex mode and alt right mouse click, this circular mass of or rather this circular nozzle will be selected, and if I want this to be perfectly round, I can press W to bring up my specials, and you notice that it will have this loop tools which we enabled very early on before I started this tutorial, and then I can choose this option called circle, and it will arrange all these vertices into a very nice circle. However, it tends to rotate it slightly, so while it is still being selected and in my front view, I'm going to press R to rotate this until it is straightened again. Okay, so right now I just want to grab some of these vertices and just push it up a little to make it look fill up the front view here. So because my mirror is no longer active, let me just undo that. Okay, I want to make sure I select the correct vertices, including these ones. Alright, and then I'm just going to push it up. Alright, so just to make it much rounder. And essentially this is, the jet is done. Now I'm going to apply a subdivision onto the aircraft. Okay, I'm gonna just maximize this view here. Okay, and I'm gonna subdivide it and then see what it looks like smoothed. So I'm gonna press Control 3, top button, row 3, and this is what it looks like smoothed. Okay, and then I'm going to press open my tools and hit smooth and just examine what it looks like. So there are certain areas which still require more edge loops. So you can press tab, then press Control R to insert more edge loops just to tighten up certain areas. Not this one. Possibly, let's see. Okay, because I only did it for one side of the wing, I need to do it for the other side. Okay, the stabilizer as well. And then this one is looking much smoother. So this tutorial actually took quite a while, but I'm deliberately doing this very slow and step by step so that you guys can try it out. So I'm just going to insert one more edge loop here just to make this look a bit tighter. Now obviously there's still a lot of tweaking that needs to be done, but essentially I got the shape, the rough shape of the Skyhawk out, and this is generally the approach that I use to model aircraft most of the time. So I hope you find this video useful, and you can try some of the techniques that I demonstrated here in your modeling experiments. Okay, thanks for watching.